Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Pure Mental Health Podcast. So, you are listening to the BAME side of our podcast, which stands for Black, Asian, and Ethnic Minorities. So, today we are here talking to Helena from Passion for Fusion, and they are a charity that use art and other things to help Black and minority ethnic communities. But before we get into that, let's introduce ourselves first. So, hello everyone, my name is Akansha.
Hello everyone, my name is Esther.
Hi, so my name is E. So welcome Helena to our podcast. Can you introduce yourself and tell us more about the charity Passion for Fusion?
Hi guys, my name is Helena, and thanks for inviting me to your podcast today. I am from Passion for Fusion, and Passion for Fusion is a charitable organization. We're based in Edinburgh, and we work in West Lothian as well. So what we do really is we help young people from predominantly Black ethnic backgrounds. We support them to integrate. We support them with mental health. We have a holistic view of their culture as well, because most of our staff and our board are also people who have lived experiences. They're probably almost all of them are coming from a cultural background or an immigrant, the immigrants in this country. So the issues that we all face are kind of the same, similar. And, we always try to come up with solutions that we know are culturally appropriate, and they help our young people and their families to deal with many different issues around integration or around, housing, poverty, jobs. We do a lot of events as well. We love a good party. So we get young people and their families together, usually to eat food together, talk, dance. Yeah, so we do a lot of things like that.
So thank you for introducing yourself. So first of all, we'd like to talk about Passion for Fusion contributed to the Heeds Together program. So like creating mental health resources like us, we did that as well. So could you talk us through what the resource is and how people can access it?
Sure. So we were part of the Heeds Together project, which was a group of organizations came together to really help young people in our different communities with mental health. Now, the Heeds Together project was very unique for us because before the pandemic, we were not doing any mental health work. We were doing mental health indirectly, through sports, music, arts, dancing, different ways. But we were not really directly dealing with young people telling us, this is how I'm feeling, this is my emotions, or my mental health I'm feeling really low about it. So as the pandemic went on, obviously, we kind of like started getting reports from parents where young people were very isolated, very lonely. They were not seeing their friends, not going out for fresh air. And, some of them, their behavior was starting to go not the direction that the parents were expecting. So they got in touch with us to see if there's anything we could do. So we started doing some virtual work around resilience, because you guys must know that it was a huge change for everybody. When the lockdown happened, it was such a huge change for everybody. So we started doing some virtual work around resilience, building your resilience levels, managing stress, helping, being kind to yourself, being kind to other people. And when we saw the Heeds Together advert, we thought, oh, this is perfect. Maybe this can teach us, because as I said, we had never really worked in a mental health capacity like that. So it was very new to us. We were really firefighting, helping our young people the best way we knew. So we got involved because we wanted to learn from other organizations what they're doing and how they're doing things and how we could support young people. So we did a piece we got a few young people together, about 8 to 10 young people together, and we were talking to them about mental health. And it came to us that actually our young people really didn't understand mental health as we know it as adults know it. They knew that they had feelings. They knew that they were going through emotions, but they didn't relate it to mental health, right? So we started with our Heads Together project, we started to flesh out their feelings and their emotions. But it was very difficult for the young people to talk about those things. So we thought, okay, what is the best method that we've used in the past that the young people have been very receptive to? So we started using storytelling. We used storytelling. So tell us a story when you first went to school, and you didn't know anyone. What happened? How were you feeling? How did you overcome that? Did you make any friends? So they started telling us stories that we kind of started picking out their feelings and emotions, and then directing them also, see, this is what you were feeling because of this situation, right? So we kind of came up with a concept. The young people came up with a concept, which was Wise Milton. And Wise Milton, they acted it out, and also we did a book about it. All this information is online. If you go to YouthLink Scotland's website, Heads Together, you will find our resources there. We've got a PDF, we've got a story on YouTube, and also we've got a flip book.
Wow. Like you said earlier, passion for fusion, you work with racially diverse and culturally diverse students. And I just wanted to ask, how do you share some tips that organizations can use to support mental health? Because different communities, they treat mental health differently. So how would you advise that they go about supporting mental health in different communities?
Sure. That's a very good question. So a lot of our young people, as I said, come from a diverse background. And our struggles may not be the struggles of their peers at school, okay? So usually organizations have a one-size-fits-all way to deal with some situations, whereas it's not the case for our young people. So imagine I am a parent and I come from Africa, okay? And I'm living in Scotland. Everything is very different from what I knew. But I've had my kids here in Scotland, right? And they know, so I'm parenting them from an African perspective, and they are growing up in a Scottish perspective. So they're bound to be some sort of, I don't want to say confusion, but there's bound to be a divide in terms of culture, right? Because parents know, for example, an African child struggles, maybe a child that's growing up in an African household in Scotland, their struggles could be something like, I have got to look after my siblings, okay? When I come back from school, I've got to make the dinner. Whereas their peers, when they come back to school, they can go out and meet their friends. They can go out and enjoy themselves. But I have, as a Black young person, I have more responsibilities at home. Okay, there's a lot of pressure as well on young ethnic people to be great achievers at school. So a lot of time they're anxious because they have to be high achievers. So when they come back home, sometimes instead of going to hang out with their friends or doing some things, they are just sitting at home studying. So that might be a different challenge from a typical Scottish born and bred, grown young person. So it's for organizations to think, what is culturally different from this young person and the rest of the young people, and to have that cultural sensitivity when they're giving solutions or helping young people to deal with mental health. I'll give you another example. So in our culture, some people don't believe in mental health. It's something they think, maybe if most of us are Christians, for example, and we will say this is an evil spirit. It's not mental health, so we can pray it away, right? So as a young person, they may struggle if a teacher is telling them that your anxiety is mental health, but at home they're telling the young person that that's an evil spirit, it's a demon in you or something like that. So other organizations need to understand, I think, to dip into the culture of African, Asian, minority ethnic people, to start understanding what are those issues, and then they can support the young people better. Otherwise, it's going to be so much confusion. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, it does.
No worries.
Yeah, I think you brought up some really, really good points there. And one of the things we also wanted to mention is that Passion for Fusion uses like storytelling and art just so beautifully to talk about things and issues that are really kind of hard to address, things like racism and like sectarianism. So as a kind of like piggybacking from the last question, how do you think that using this method like helps to make like issues like that easier to address or to like tackle?
Sure, that's a good question. So I love storytelling, and I think it's very it's very important to us as a culture. We use storytelling for everything, absolutely everything, right? And even in Scotland, anywhere, people use storytelling without knowing that they're using storytelling. Okay, so for example, Peppa Pig story. It's a story about a Peppa Pig or whatever, but they're trying to bring in some lessons so that young people can learn from those lessons. And in our culture, we do the same. We storytell about everything: mental health, family, all the difficult subjects. And because you're telling a story, it's much more easier. So storytelling makes hard subjects really easy to understand and easy to deal with, right? For example, I've got a 12-year-old. If I come and ask him like something about bullying, right? Are you bullied at school? He's not going to tell me that, maybe, because he's worried about I might phone the school, I might go, I might cause him more trouble. But if I bring it in a story, maybe my own personal experience or someone else's personal experience, he may start to relate to it. And he thinks, oh, so that's what they did. So I can do that. So that's how they dealt with. So can I. So storytelling it's something that we underestimate, but it's amazing at helping us deal with emotions, with feelings, and it's enjoyable as well. If you think about I'll speak for African people. Most African people, you sit with your grandmother or your aunties or your uncles, and they tell you stories, and they're quite animated as well. So the stories are fascinating. And it's like you just want to listen and listen. But there's always lessons in those stories if you look deeper. So I would encourage everybody that's listening, if you can use storytelling to deal with the harder subjects of life, young people are always receptive to it. If you think about how young people are playing a lot of games, it's like a story they're following,
Yeah.
and they're interested in that because it's taking you on a journey. And that's exactly what storytelling does.
Wow. The talk about African storytelling just brings so many memory to me. Oh. Is there anything else the Passion for Fusion does that you would like to talk about? Anything extra?
Yeah, so we do a lot of sports. So as I said earlier, before the pandemic, we were kind of dealing with mental health, but in a different way. So we use sports, we use the arts, we do a lot of singing, dancing, music is a way to escape how you're feeling. And then we bring everybody together, and that's one of the things that it's like having a community that you can go to, that you feel comfortable in, that you feel that all these people look like me, they must understand where I am, where I'm coming from. They must understand. And it's not to say that we want young people to be isolated from the mainstream, but it's also important that young people are getting in a safe space that they feel they can express themselves in a culturally appropriate way. And also we do a lot of events with families. So as an African culture, again, we love getting together. We just love food, be around food, music, and that's one way, I guess, of dealing with mental health. When you've got company, you've got people that can counsel you, you've got people that you're genuinely enjoying life together, like doing life together, eating together, dancing. So we do a lot of events where we bring young people and their families. And that's because we see it from a holistic approach. If a young person is having issues at school, yeah, and they deal with that issue at school, but when they go back home and the home situation is still a mess, all the work that's been done at school is not going to cut it. So you know, the people that deal with young people in these situations, especially from BAME backgrounds, they need to be in tune and they need to be having a holistic approach with families. And that's what Passion for Fusion does, really. We don't only deal with the young person, we deal with the family, we support families to make sure that whatever we're doing, the family is supported also to achieve the same goals for the young person as we are trying to achieve. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so here is our final question. Since we are still in lockdown, we would like to ask you, how have you been coping with lockdown? Do you have any tips or ways that have helped you to cope with it? And would you like to share it with the listeners? What are they?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The lockdown has been very, very hard on me because I'm a very social being. I love being out. I love meeting people. You know, I love just hugging people. So imagine not being able to do all these things. It's been such a big you know, a big deal for me not to do those things. And in the beginning, I was like, you know, feeling down, feeling upset about it, complaining a lot until I thought, okay, this is not going to go away. So I need to learn how to deal with it better, you know? And at that point, I started bike riding. So I would get a bike. I didn't know how to ride a bike actually before the lockdown. And I got a group of moms that Passion for Fusion supports already. And I said, let's learn how to do bike. Let's learn how to ride a bike. So we all learned how to do a bike. And every time we would go out on bike rides, it's like you're getting the fresh air in you, you know, and also you're meeting up with people socially distanced, you're doing it safely. So that's one of the things that has helped me to cope um, with the lockdown. The other thing is having a technology free time because we're all in the house. We're on our gadgets 24/7. We're not going out. We're not doing much different. So it's very easy for the adults who are working. You're on the computer. You're in the same environment. There's no change of environment. So what I decided is I want a technology free evening. So every Friday evening, me and my kids, we watch a movie. It's movie night, so we have a big sleepover, and everybody sleeps in the living room. But we don't have any other gadgets but the TV, and we watch movies. On Saturday from around 5, I don't have my phone on. I actually totally switch off my phone, iPad, computer, everything, and I refresh myself away from technology. That has helped me a lot as well. And hanging out with my friends, like even though I couldn't see them physically, like it's important to be able to phone them and talk to them, to Zoom them, you know, to catch up with them, catch a bit of a laugh, you know, talk about any nonsense that we might want to talk about, but keeping that friendship and encouraging each other. Because you'll get days that in my friendship group, for example, you'll get someone who's feeling really down and that week has been rubbish, and then everybody lifts them up to feel a bit better. So, you know, keeping in touch with your friends. I know my kids are always playing games with their friends as well. So they'll be talking to their friends, playing games together. And when it was allowed, they would go to the park and see them as well. So yeah, fresh air is very important. drink loads of water. If you can get some exercise in yourself, by all means, do it, and get some technology-free time.
Thank you, Ma, for joining us today, and it's been lovely having you here. It was a very interesting conversation, and we learned so much, brought so many memories. And is there anything else left that you'd like to share with the listeners before we go?
No, thanks for having me. If there's any young people that might be listening from Edinburgh or West Lothian, and they are they are from an ethnic background and they would like to come along to our activities, they're more than welcome to come along. We have a big group of young people from the age of 5 right up to 16, 17. So you will always make a friend. You'll find someone that you can connect with. And if there's only organizations that might need some support with culturally appropriate support from our BAME background, we're here to support them as well.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.